Hello creative friends and welcome to Love Sew. I'm Sharon and I'm popping in today for a quick demonstration showing you how to use the Love Sew fusible applique mat. This is a wonderful silicone material pressing mat that protects your pressing mat, your ironing board, and also your iron from the sticky goo that sometimes gets all over the place when you're using fusible web to applique. So for today's demonstration, we're going to make a simple quilt block with just applying shapes directly to a background fabric using fusible web, which is an iron-on material that makes the two fabrics stick together for applique. I'll also show you a little bit more complex design where you layer the different fabrics and how to use the fusible applique mat for both of those techniques. Okay, let's get started. Okay, for our first project demonstration, I am going to be appliquing some shapes onto a larger background fabric. Okay, so follow the instructions on your fusible web material for how to attach your applique shape to the first side, to the sticky side of your fusible web. For mine, it just says to position it on the side with the web, and then you can trace your shape on the paper side in order to cut it out. So I'm not going to press it on first. I just want to get the shape of it. Okay, and then I can remove my applique shape and cut the fusible web with my paper scissors. And I'm going to cut just inside of my marked line so that the fusible is slightly smaller than my fabric. I don't want any of it to hang over and show on the front of my quilt block. I want it all to be underneath the fabric. So I'm just cutting inside the line. Okay, now I'm going to move to my pressing mat and put my applique shape onto my fusible web. Line that up, and again, kind of get it to where the fusible web is all underneath the fabric. None of it is showing on the outside. Okay, and then I'll take my background piece of fabric and I have folded it in quadrants and pressed it so that I have some marking lines to see where to place my shapes. Before I put the applique on, I need to peel the paper off of the back of the web. This exposes the sticky side that will go on my background fabric. Okay, so this webbing is sticky on both sides so that it will fuse my applique shape to my background fabric. Okay, and then I will place my Love Sew fusing mat over my block, and I have my iron set to a medium to high heat, and it can be dry, and I'm going to hold that over the applique shape for several seconds, and then I can check to see if it has fused. And that's fused really nicely. Okay, and the great thing about the fusing mat is that it protects my iron from getting any of that sticky fusible on the surface of the iron, just in case. Sometimes there are bits that stick out the sides, and you definitely don't want to get that stickiness on the surface of your iron. if it gets on the surface of your fusible mat, because of the silicone material, it's very easy to just rub off and get that clean again. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that step to add 3 more shapes to my block and then a center circle to make a cute little flower. Okay, for this technique, I'm going to show you how to do an applique motif that requires several pieces and layers of fabric. And for this one, our purpose is to protect the ironing mat and our pattern so that we can use it more than once. Okay, so I have my applique pattern printed just on a regular sheet of paper, and I've put it directly on my pressing mat. And then I'm going to place my Love Sew fusing mat over the top of it. And as you can see, we're going to take advantage of being able to see through the mat in order to place the pieces for our applique correctly. So you'll need to visualize the order of the pieces, meaning that you're working from the front back toward the background piece of your fabric. So what I mean by that is that we're going to start with the piece that will be on top on the finished block. So in our case, that is going to be the body of the butterfly. That's going to be in the front and hide all of the edges of the wings and the other pieces once it's all appliqued in place. Okay, so I use my printed pattern as a guide and put my body in place. And then our next level is these embellishments on the wings, on the top wings. And if it helps you to remember that these are going to be on top of the wings in our finished project, so we need to have them go on first. Okay, and I'll just line those up with the lines on my pattern as best I can. And the next thing is going to be the dot embellishments on our bottom wings. Okay, because those are going to be in front of or on top of the wings in the finished piece. All right, next come the large top wings, and use the lines on your pattern as a guide to place those, and they are going to go directly over those pink embellishments. And on our finished piece, they will be in front of these smaller bottom wings. Okay, so I'm going to put those into place. I want to make sure that I get the pieces lined up so that it looks continuous, like the wing goes down like this and around. And it overlaps just slightly under the body and the top wing so that those edges are covered. Okay, so I have all of the pieces of my butterfly, and then I'm going to place my piece of background fabric over the top of everything. And I've cut it a little bit extra large so that just in case I don't get it perfectly straight, I can trim it down to the size that I want for my finished block. Okay, so I put that on, and then again I have my iron set to a medium-high setting. And the great thing about your ironing, your applique fusing mat, is that if there is any shifting, or if the fusible web should be too close to the edge of your fabric and leaks out, it'll get the stickiness on your fusible mat and not on your pressing tape, on your pressing table or ironing board. All right, let's see if that's long enough. And there is my butterfly. So if I want to finish this, I can do some hand stitching, like embroidery around each of these pieces to hold them down. I could use a zigzag stitch on my sewing machine to stitch around each piece, or I could piece them into a quilt or a wall hanging and then quilt over the top of them, and that will work to hold the pieces in place. But the fusible web will hold things fairly securely, probably not for multiple washing like for a baby quilt, but for light use it will hold in place, and you can always stitch over the top if you want something that will last longer. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed making appliques with me today. I think this has been really fun, and I might just be talked into becoming more of an applique enthusiast. So pick up your Love Sew applique fusing mat at lovesew.com and give some of these projects a try for yourself. All right, until next time, happy sewing!